The One Piece animates come into the Fox box.
And now pummel his head flatter than the shape of the earth! Mr. Helmeppo!
4Kids' dub of One Piece is legendary for all the wrong reasons. It was an attempt to bring a popular anime series over here to Western audiences, and it dropped the ball hard. I am fascinated with the 4Kids dub of One Piece. I never got to watch it personally, but I've heard horror stories about how this was the worst thing humanity's ever come up with. For those who don't know, 4Kids was a company from the mid-90s to early 2010s who mostly licensed anime to Western kids. Their most well-known properties are the early Pokemon anime and most of Yu-Gi-Oh! They're also infamous for the amount of changes they do to their shows they localize. And in 2004, 4Kids decided to localize One Piece, which is considered their worst show. But we're not going to be talking about the dub itself because honestly, it's been talked to death. So instead, I'm going to be talking about something different that no one else seems to talk about, probably because no one cares enough to. The merchandise that 4Kids produced during their run with One Piece. I have spent years finding as much 4Kids related One Piece merch I could find online and afford. My dog has no food. For now, how about we start things off simple with the video games. 4 games were released under 4Kids license, including One Piece Grand Battle, a 3D fighting game similar to Power Stone but actually good. I'm sorry, you know I love you. One Piece Grand Battle is an altered version of Grand Battle Rush from Japan, which was the 4th game in the Grand Battle series. I may not have grown up with the 4Kids stuff, but I definitely grew up with this game. This game was actually my introduction to One Piece as a whole, which means the first thing that I ever saw of One Piece was the 4Kids opening. Because Rush took place way later in the story, the English release had characters and stages removed to avoid spoilers. The game is themed around the Davy Backfight and the Foxy Pirates, but because they weren't introduced to the West yet, in the English release, they were replaced with Usopp and his Pirate Challenge. Also, 2 characters, Mr. 2 Bon Clay and Crocodile, were not revealed in the show as of the time of the game's release. So, they were secret characters that could only be unlocked with codes in Shonen Jump. So anyone who had this game and did not have access to Shonen Jump or GameFAQs, get f***ed. Next, it's One Piece on Game Boy Advance, released the same day as Grand Battle as a companion title. This game was made exclusively for American audiences. The game borrows graphics from the Japan-exclusive Grand Battle Swan Coliseum for the Wonder Swan. And if you don't know what a Wonder Swan is, then congrats, you're happy. One Piece on GBA on the outside looks like its standard action platformer, but it quickly pulls the difficulty bandage off and reveals its true colors as a completely bullshit game. I bought this game for like 15 bucks at a thrift store years ago, so I absolutely recommend picking this game up since it's so cheap. In the protective case you go. Going a bit out of order with its next one is One Piece Pirates Carnival, another game that was altered due to the most powerful force in the universe. Spoilers. This is a One Piece Mario Party game, perfect to play with your friends who also enjoy One Piece. Like Grand Battle Rush, Pirates Carnival's content was altered in the Western release in order to avoid spoilers. For example, this buggy minigame in the English version was originally Frankie in the Japanese version. Also, 2 whole minigames were cut, having no presence in the North American version. The English release actually did add new content though. In the Japanese version, the game only has 5 boards, while in the North American version, there's 9. Unlike Grand Battle, the North American Pirates Carnival actually contained content from both Jaya and Skypiea, which were storylines never done by 4Kids, as they ended their run on the show right before this point. So seeing characters like Ineru with 4Kids style dialogue makes me feel like I've been warped to an alternate reality. Also, characters that 4Kids decide to skip entirely, like Laboon the Whale and the Giants from Little Garden, appear in this game. The final game we have here is One Piece Grand Adventure. The game released before Pirates Carnival, but I wanted to talk about it last because I thought it was the most interesting. Like the GBA game, Grand Adventure is an American exclusive game, being a sequel to Grand Battle with way more characters and way more maps. The maps that were cut from Grand Battle come back here, with one exclusive map added as a bonus. They added an exclusive adventure mode with a level up system, where you can use the progress from the adventure mode to the versus matches. There's this brand new race and minigame, Like in Pirates Carnival, we got Skypiea content, making a sick part of me wish that 4Kids continued with Skypiea. This right here is the definitive One Piece 4Kids game, which isn't saying much since its only competition is the GBA game, and One Piece Tetris. I love all these games. They had a big impact on me when I was younger. Maybe I'll come back and discuss them more in depth. Well, now that I'm done talking about the video games, let's move on to... The 2005 October issue of Shonen Jump included a free demo disc of Grand Battle for subscribers, only on the PS2. It's what you expect from a demo disc. Only one game mode available, only 4 characters and 2 maps available to play. Also, you're only able to play one match that's preset with its options. While Shonen Jump was the only way to own the demo, it was also available on the Quarter 3, Quarter 4 2005 demo kiosk disc. The kinds of kiosks you would see be playing at a Walmart for kids to play. I fully went into this demo thinking it'd be the same as the Shonen Jump one, but I was gladly proven wrong. It has less characters and stages. Also a completely different title screen. But besides those changes, they're pretty much the exact same demo. When a match is over, the demo ends advertising the game and then advertises more products like toys, cards, and DVDs. The One Piece DVDs from Viz Media, which is absolutely the peak of home entertainment. 11 DVD volumes were released containing a total of 52 episodes together, plus one bonus DVD, which I'll get to later. The 4Kids dub covered a total of 104 episodes, but the DVDs only covered half of it. Luckily for me, and only me, the remaining episodes were salvaged and uploaded online by fans. And if they were released officially, trust me, I would buy them in a heartbeat. My favorite memory I have with the DVDs is when Halo the Master Chief Collection first came to PC, I would play the game on one monitor, and on the second I would watch the 4Kids dub. A benefit of having the DVDs, besides not being labeled as a criminal, is the clear video quality. The episodes that were uploaded online by fans are from the Toonami broadcasts, which are a little bit more fuzzy, and have the Toonami watermark stuck on the footage. Another benefit of the DVDs are the bonus features, like the production art. Each DVD volume contains production art of different characters and set pieces. There's also an animated preview of the One Piece Color Walk book, which was actually the first time I ever heard of this thing. But I doubt anyone saw this and decided to buy the Color Walk book. There's also ads for the Shonen Jump magazine itself. Once again, no one saw this and decided, I'ma buy me some Shonen Jump. And a couple trailers for other Shonen Jump shows like Naruto. Never Be Friends With Me. Also, fun fact, the Circuits Comes to Town DVD was originally going to go by a different name, according to this advertisement poster. Here we have the 2005 4Kids Toys R Us promo disc. While not specifically One Piece related, it is one of the main shows featured on the disc. The main purpose of this DVD was to promote a $4,000 contest with Toys R Us, also showcasing 8 different 4Kids shows that were airing at this time. The most notable One Piece thing on this disc is actually an advertisement for the GBA game. Other than that, there's not really much One Piece related content that's worth mentioning on this disc. Australia had their own set of DVDs released. Also, if you think that I should buy these, screw you. And by that I mean screw me. The cases are slightly different, but they do contain the same amount of episodes. The episodes themselves don't seem to be any different. The first Australian DVD contains a sheet of bonus stickers, while our Volume 1 DVD contained a card inside, which perfectly segues into the One Piece collectible card game. Years before this card game released, and this card game, and this card game, and this card game. But right after, the One Piece collectible card game was released in 2005 and was the English release of the 2002 Japanese card game. While the Japanese card game lasted a couple years and had multiple sets released, while the English card game had 2. The 2 sets released were The Quest Begins and Passage to the Grand Line. Also, a starter set was released with 2 decks and a game mat, as well as this little counter sheet. The game mat also doubled as instructions, which got annoying, so I decided to seal the thing in plastic. Also, I can't talk too much about the card game itself because
I have no one to play with. This game was also released during an onslaught of anime card games. Besides the card games from the big three like Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic, there was also Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, Yu Yu Hakusho, Shaman King, Inuyasha, Zatch Bell, Digimon, Ultimate Muscle, Metabots, Mega Man NT Warrior, Sonic X, Duel Masters, and Kate's Closed. Yeah, the show that starts off with someone getting decapitated on a roller coaster, let's make that a card game. With the amount of anime card games at the time and One Piece just not being popular yet, the card game just flew under the radar. But because no one bought these things, that must mean these things are pretty cheap online, right? A couple of promo cards were released as well, one through Shonen Jump, one through the GameCube version of Grand Battle, and one through the Volume 1 DVD. Also, a dozen tournament promos were released with gold or silver skull marks on them. In brand new packs of The Quest Begins, it's one of 3 map pieces. This was part of a promotion where if you have all 3 map pieces and mail them to Bandai, you would be gifted a giant gold-foiled Luffy card. The card must be pretty rare because I could only find one picture of it online. I thought substituting the Luffy card for a giant Blue Eyes would make me happy, but no. One of the map pieces could also be found in the GameCube version of Grand Battle. I've had this copy for years, and this disclaimer on the back always confused me as a kid. And once again, one of the map pieces can also be found in Shonen Jump. While the cards were commonly sold in booster packs, a couple of blister packs were sold as well, like the ones I have right here. Now, these may seem like nothing, but let me tell you, these packs were some of the rarest and most expensive part of my collection, costing me around $500 together. Now, was it worth it? Well, I mean, yeah, I get to look and hold them.
Alright, I've talked about video games, DVDs, and trade-in cards. What's left? Scholastic book.
Scholastic chapter books based off the 4Kids dub of One Piece. These have to be the most random thing I have ever seen in my life. Okay, maybe the Donkey Kong books are more random, but my point still stands. Scholastic released 5 books, and they are all retellings of the 4Kids episodes. And by retellings, I mean they are exact, one-to-one. So if you watch the 4Kids episodes, you read the books without even knowing. That's really all there is to say. There's nothing else interesting about these books. The most interesting thing is that they exist. But if you enjoy One Piece and wanted to read it, well, do I have good news for you. There is one more One Piece book, but it's not from Scholastic. It was from Prima Games. The One Piece Grand Battle Strategy Guide from Prima Games. I had no idea this existed until I'd stumbled upon it on eBay. At first I thought, does this even count as 4Kids merchandise? But Sanji does have its lollipop on one page, and the 4Kids logo is in the book, so yeah, I think this counts. This is actually a pretty well put together strategy guide with lots of pictures and information. There's actually 2 things in the book I didn't even know about, like fruit percentage. Grand Battle has this mechanic where if you lose all your health with a full stamina bar, you will enter the state where you do more damage while your stamina drains. Kinda like its second wind. I thought for the longest time that this was the only way to activate the state. Turns out you can enter the state manually anytime you want, just by pressing the fate buttons with a full stamina bar. Meaning you can enter the state at the start of a match. This is not explained anywhere within the game or the game's manual. It tells you about entering the state when you lose all your health, but doesn't tell you how to enter it manually. Another thing is the requirements to unlock and bond Clay. While it has the cheat codes that you'd find in Shonen Jump, there's actually a second method to unlocking him. Funny thing is, I looked up the unlock requirements on multiple websites just to make sure, and I could only find one that mentions this second method. That's not really relevant to anything, I just thought that was funny. Also, Crocodile isn't shown once in the guide, because he wouldn't be revealed until the Shonen Jump after this guide came out. So the guide just tells you, hey, buy Shonen Jump. Sorry for wasting your money on this guide that doesn't tell you how to unlock all the characters. Also, at the end of the book, there's some manga pages with some backstory included, which, honestly, I've never seen a guide do something like this. This is definitely one of the coolest strategy guides I've ever seen with my own eyes.
Alright. I've talked about video games, DVDs, trading cards, and books. What else is left to cover? A musical.
The One Piece toy line by Mattel. Mattel actually handled other series like Yu-Gi-Oh! And Shaman King in previous years, as well as one of my personal favorite toy lines, the Mega Man Anti-Warrior figures. So naturally, they handled the One Piece toy line. Mattel actually had a different couple sets released. A set of 6-inch standard figures, a set of 7-inch figures that use ripcords, 2 special figures, and a set of Zoloed swords. While the cards are easily the most expensive part of the collection, these toys are the reason why I was so interested in this topic in the first place. I've always wanted One Piece toys. Not something highly articulated and mostly for posing, or some overly detailed statue that's way overpriced and you can't move at all. I always wanted these toys when I would look them up online during school in the computer lab. You know, instead of actually studying like I was supposed to. Now, after going on a year-long crusade to find these figures online, here they are. As you can see, I have every figure. Most brand new, some loots, some with worn boxes, but I have all 12 figures. And I love all of them.
Now, because all the figures are in box, I can't really talk about them that much. Well,
here we have the line of 6-inch figures, which I just learned are called the Action Attack figures. This set includes Luffy, Zolo, Sanji, Kuro, and another Luffy and Zolo figure. Almost every figure has this spring lock mechanism that disables any kind of posability on the figures. All except for this Luffy figure, which has actual rubber arms that you can stretch, and actually has a pretty good amount of articulation. If I had to recommend any of these toys, I would pick this Luffy one. Another cool figure is the Zolo figure, who uses magnets to hold his swords instead of having them slide into his hands and not have a stable grip. Also, fun fact, in 2007 this figure was actually recalled off of shelves because the magnets could be swallowed by children. Meaning I am now on an FBI watch list. Next up are the Pirates figures. Luffy, Zolo, and Sanji all get another figure with alternate costumes, but with Don Krieg added to the lineup. Each figure comes with their own unique ripcord that also doubles as spoons. Of course, being ripcord figures, each figure does a different thing when you pull the cord out of the figure. My favorite of the functions by far has to be Luffy with its spin attack, which he's done a total of never. Unfortunately, my copy of the Zolo Rip figure doesn't work. Also, the Don Krieg figure, which I bought huge, came with none of the accessories. He's supposed to be able to fire missiles when you press his head, but mine is just the glorified noisemaker at this point. Also, all the Pirates figures come with this bonus DVD, meaning I am now stuck with 3 of these things. Speaking of which, this is the One Piece The Hunt Begins bonus disc. It's a DVD that contains footage of the show, explaining the story, the characters, the villains, and even a showcase of different moves and fight scenes, and even 2 music videos that are catchy in the fun way. Unfortunately, I can't show them due to copyright. Even though you can get through this DVD in like 30 minutes, it's a really cool bonus disc you get with the toy. Here we have the Kaboom Cannon Luffy playset. The only playset released in the toy line. A giant cannon that comes with 2 cannonballs and an exclusive Luffy figure. The cannon actually has a lot of detail added to it, like cracks and tally marks. How the thing works is you push down the cannonball, down into the cannon, and then you pull the string, and it fires the cannon. So you'll be able to attack enemy pirates with ease. I am very lucky to own this figure, as it's one of the rarest figures in the set. Also, it seems like the previous owner enjoyed chewing on the toads more than actually playing with this figure. Did Tarantino own this? Can I resell this for millions? How many N-words is he allowed to say? Next up is one of my personal favorites, the 12-inch Super Elastic Luffy. Just like the Action Attack Luffy, this figure also has rubber limbs that you can stretch, as well as a speaker on the back of the figure, because when you pull one of its limbs, audio from the speaker will play.
Wow! Monkey D. Luffy! Uh-oh! Monkey D. Luffy, king of the pirates! Gom Rocket!
I actually got this figure as a gift from my parents back in 2016. I was 13 at the time and saw it online and thought I could get it for Christmas. Which, the thing would arrive after Christmas, but it was fine, I still got it. Back in the day when all the other kids were talking about Overwatch, I was asking my parents for 4Kids One Piece toys from 2005. I was very popular if you couldn't tell. Out of all the figures, Don Krieg is the highlight. He is without a doubt the rarest figure in the entire set. I was only able to find that single copy that comes with none of the accessories loots, and this one figure cost me around over $100 with no accessories, because finding the figure in box is as hard as finding the Ark of the Covenant. I actually found the figure boxed online in a bid war and ended up losing, showing that there's someone out there who's more reckless with money than I am. I will never see this figure boxed online again. This was the worst experience of my life. So yeah, I've had a pretty good life so far. Also, to whoever won this, if you open this thing, I will make you an extra in a John Wick movie. Now, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. These figures are full of jank with gimmicks that limit posability and are also a pain to stand up. But these were the kind of toys I was playing with when I was a kid. So having One Piece toys that also fit with my childhood toys, it's spectacular. I love every figure and I am so happy to have them. They are easily my favorite part of this whole collection. It was worth spending lots of money on these rare figures brand new just to take them out of the packaging. My biggest problem with the figures is the lack of character variety. We have 5 Luffys, 3 Zolos, 2 Sanjis, 1 Kuro, and 1 Don Krieg. That's only 5 different characters in the entire toy line. No Buggy, no Nami, no Arlong, and no Usopp. Not asking for much, just characters that also show up on the packaging. I'd take a toy of anyone. I'd take a toy of Gaimon. I'd take a toy of that one guy who got shot. I'd take a toy of that guy who got whitewashed. Just give me someone I know. But the action figures weren't the only One Piece thing Mattel handled, like the One Piece puzzle set, a 100-piece jigsaw puzzle. What do you want from me? That's all it is.
I did it.
Now, what I'm about to show you is the final Mattel One Piece item I own. This thing is so obscure that I don't know how many people actually know this thing exists. Here it is right now. The One Piece Mattel 5-pack Matchbox set. I don't think this thing actually exists. Even though I'm looking at it right now with my own eyes, even though I felt it with my own hands, even though I have bought it with my own money, I don't think that this thing is real, and I'm just hallucinating it from a gas leak. 5 die-cast toy cards themed around Shonen Jump's One Piece. Whose idea was this? Mattel actually released other licensed Matchbox sets around this time, but the thing was, these were actually popular series. One Piece wasn't popular yet, so why did they do One Piece? Now, the story of how I came across this is pretty interesting. I was looking around eBay for the other Mattel toys when I saw a listing for one of the cards. So I then quickly looked it up to make sure I wasn't going insane and could only find 2 pictures of it online. And then about a week later, I looked online again and found a listing for the full set for around $50. and it was another bid war. And I won. Because no one else bid on it. Either because no one cared enough to bid on it, or the fact that no one knows this thing exists to bid on it. Now, if the Don Kriegan box is the Ark of the Covenant, that makes its Matchbox set and each of the cards the Shankara stones. If you were paying attention, you probably noticed that there was one item I mentioned that I'd skipped, and that's the set of Zolo's swords. I'd skipped them because I don't think they actually released. While the swords were advertised alongside the other toys, I can't find any pictures of anyone actually owning these things. The picture shown in the advertisement is one of 2 pictures I could actually find of the swords online. The other picture is actually the swords in box. These are the only other pictures I could find of these swords online. But because it's in box, and it clearly isn't the advertisement pictures which were prototypes, there's a chance that these swords actually are out there. So if the Don Krieg in box is the Ark of the Covenant, the Matchbox sets, the Shankara stones, that makes the swords the Holy Grail. And the giant Luffy card would be the Crystal Skull. Can you tell I've been watching Indiana Jones lately? Also, I want to point out the One Piece fandom wiki on Mattel shows the toys' advertisement pictures, which were all prototypes. The Kaboom Cannon Luffy does not have black dust on the figure. You can't describe it like it does. Also, both the Jigsaw puzzle and the Matchbox set are not mentioned once in the wiki, even though they are both by Mattel. In short, fandom can go to hell. Despite the fact that there's only 5 characters in the toy line, I still love them. And having 2 figures of my 2 favorite underrated One Piece villains is not going underappreciated. But it makes what I have to say next very sad for me. Mattel actually planned to continue their toy license on One Piece. At a toy fair which shown off new Luffy, Zolo, and Sanji figures, god damn it Mattel. But alongside those figures were also a Traits figure and a Chopper figure in its arm boost form. And a new Arlong figure, and its Luffy mask, as well as its inflatable Luffy fist. Even though with how cool these figures look, due to poor sales of the first set of figures, these figures were sadly cancelled.
Which is probably why they ended their run on the show. 4Kids probably saw One Piece as a way to make lots of merchandise, but when they saw that failed, they decided to just cancel the whole thing.
And with that, that is my complete 4Kids One Piece collection. There's a few items I may be missing, and items I might not even know exist, but for now, I'm very happy with what I have. You may think that collecting the 4Kids One Piece merchandise might be a dumb hobby, but it's my dumb hobby, and I had a lot of fun collecting all of this stuff. And I'm really happy I get to finally show it all off and talk about it. You might not understand why I find all this so fascinating, but all that matters is that I find it fascinating and enjoy it. Maybe one day I'll go back and talk about the actual 4Kids dub, because I have a lot to say about it. But for now, thank you all for listening to my dumb hobby I love.